Welcome back, class. It's time now for notes on Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson, born in 1830 and died in 1886. She lived almost all of her life in her family's house in Amherst, Massachusetts. She was educated in town and also studied classical literature, English, Latin. At age 17, she began attending Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, which is today Mount Holyoke College in Amherst, Massachusetts. She showed a sign of being a rebel then by refusing to sign an oath stating her devotion to Christ. Was she a recluse? Was she an agoraphobe, someone afraid of crowds? Well, she only left home for short trips after her time at Mount Holyoke. So virtually her entire life spent on Main Street in Amherst, in her family's home. Later in her life, she wore only a white dress, scholars believed, for perhaps the last 10 years of her life. Of course, she's known as the Belle of Amherst. And there was a movie created in the 1960s that featured that title, The Belle of Amherst. There were 10 poems of hers published in her lifetime. The rest were published posthumously. That number 10 varies. You'll see 7, you'll see 11. We're going to go with 10 poems. Wentworth Higginson, she had what we believe is a literary crush on Higginson, her editor, who lived in Philadelphia. Benjamin Newton, she was in love with him, but unfortunately he died young, as well as George Gould. And latest reports are that Emily may even have been engaged to him in the 1850s. Now, after her death in 1886, her sister Lavinia found in Emily's desk and bureau drawers her fascicles, or hand-bound booklets of poems. This number that we go by is 1775. That was the number of poems found by Lavinia. Very important to note that Lavinia did not follow her sister's wishes and destroy the poems. She saved them and had them sent to publishers who eventually published the poems. You'll need to know Emily Dickinson's writing style. The first element is her use of unusual capitalization. This was a common practice in the 1800s, but she used it for her poetic purposes of highlighting important words and creating stronger impressions by capitalizing the words in her poems. The second element of her writing style is her unusual use of punctuation. And here we mention the dashes, particularly the dashes. And it wasn't until 1955 that her poems were actually published with the dashes. And I'll show you an example in class of her handwritten poems where the dashes are very prominently used in the poems. Third element of her style is the slant rhyme, and these are words that do not exactly rhyme, as the example here is one and stone. But again, she would place emphasis on words, creating this stylistic effect. Now, major themes in her works we see are life and death. Most students you'll see in the textbook, many of her poems there deal with death. So most students come away with the impression she only wrote about death, but that's not true. She also wrote about love and relationships. She wrote about nature, and she wrote about her soul and eternity. and also the poems about the teachings of Christ, which are known as the gospel poems. Here are some quotes. I dwell in possibility. Heaven is what I cannot reach. Success is counted sweetest by those who ne'er succeed. Water is taught by thirst. And tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. And of course, these are all quotes from her poetry. To finish up, we have a few photos. This picture is of her white dress case at the top of the stairs at her home in Amherst, Massachusetts. When one gets to the top of the stairs, you see the dress turn to the right, and there is her bedroom. So Emily used this writing desk. You can see that it's portable in nature. She could move it from window to window. There was a third window there on the left in her bedroom, and she would watch the goings on, the daily activities of Amherst along Main Street there. I do have an extra credit. Please write it at the bottom of your second page of your notes. It looks like that's got cut off. So the extra credit question is, what famous actress who died in 2013 at the age of 87 played Emily Dickinson in the 1960s? Here's a photo of Emily Dickinson's home. The top bedroom there on the left, the second story bedroom, that is Emily's room. And that does it for today. So bring these notes to class and we'll continue our discussion of Emily Dickinson. Don't forget to do the extra credit.